We all hear a ton about AI. We all hear about what it can do and how amazing it all is. And I don't think that there's anything incorrect about that. But this episode is brought to you by an AI brain that is absolutely incredible for your marketing team called Runneth. It's from Motion, and therefore you know it's awesome because it's from Motion. But really, what Runneth does is connects every single function of your marketing department into one place. It can do so many different things. It can build you ads. It can verify that your brand looks proper. It can verify that what your top creatives were, and you can ask it. You can have it live in Slack, or you can have it live as a CLI, so you can interact with it any way you want to. The thing that's really insane to me about Motion is how absolutely intelligent it truly is and how it works cross-functionally across the team. There was recently a marketer that Reza talks about in the landing page on Runneth, which you should definitely check out, where basically she went on vacation, the CMO did, and said, if Runneth says the ad is okay to run, then it is okay to run. So she uploaded all the context for the team. They ran it into Runneth, and Runneth said, yeah, that ad is totally on brand. It's absolutely crazy the number of things that this can do. And I think the fact that we all live in silos and the fact we all live separately is really, really challenging and one of the hard parts about AI. So that's not what this does. This brings it all together with shared context, shared resources, and it also looks at thousands of ads every day. So it's always up to date on what actually is the best performing ads that it's seeing across Motion. And so that's another whole thing that it does. It's really crazy because instead of one more dashboard, you get a teammate in your Slack that knows your performance data cold. As I said, you can ask it really anything and answers instantly. Weekly recaps, top creatives, which creators your audience trusts. It learns your brand, your playbooks, and gets smarter every day. E-commerce and D2C teams are using it to turn weekly reporting from a 2-day job into a 2-minute conversation. Head to runneth.com and see it for yourself. And it also has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you need a cheat code in e-commerce and D2C with your ads and your ad creative and your marketing team, check out runneth.com. 30-day money-back guarantee. It's absolutely incredible what this thing can do, and I encourage you to give it a shot. If you work in D2C and you use AI and you're wondering what the F is going on every week, this is your podcast, the AI-DTC-WTF-Podcast, your home for tactical tips, strategies, and ideas that you can implement right now in your AI workflows to make your brand or agency more money. What's up, everybody? We are live recording a podcast of AI-DTC-WTF, which is our new podcast if you haven't heard this or checked it out. And I'm here with my man, Harry Delmege, who has always been an awesome person. And I feel like whose stock is absolutely just exploding right now, talking about so many different things, especially with ads and yappers. The episode we did with him on Scalability School is everyone wanted to see it. It was just hot. So Harry, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
All good, man. Thanks for having me. Happy to run it back.
We're here talking about, why AI isn't great for creative and what happens in the creative process. So we're actually kind of, we talk a lot about AI on the podcast, obviously, but for you, it's not something you use pretty much at all in terms of making great ads. There might be some areas where you use it in your process, but tell us kind of where you use AI and where you don't, and how you view that in terms of its negative impact almost on creating better ads sometimes.
Yeah. So I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't want to say like I don't use it. I definitely use it, but like I think like we use it more for execution, right? Like, but like less ideation. But like, because I think that's like what a lot of bottlenecks are. It's like if you're a great strategist, you have all these great ideas, but you're just like, well, I just don't have enough time to write these all down. But I think with AI, you do now have it. So it's like, for example, where we do use it is like I'm constantly building skills or trying to improve skills that are like format dependent. So we have like a yapper skill, a VSL skill, like a native ads, they're like the long form copy ones, like have all that. But really what we don't use it for is ideation. Like that's like a lot of manual stuff, just because I think there's no way that, maybe I'm wrong, but like right now the AI can come up with a better ad idea than you. I think like, because it has different guardrails, it can't like, all this different stuff baked into it. So I think, we're very bullish on like manual ideation and then just like AI execution. But saying that, we also do try and like write one bit of manual copy like per week. And I'm probably actually going to start doing bounties for that. Like whoever writes the best banger, that's all manual, like gets like a like end of month bonus or something on top of like the commission they already get.
Nice. So you have skills that are, let's walk through that. So you have like a skill that knows how to write yapper ads, and you built that skill in Claude, and it has every yapper ad you've ever written along with instructions from you, I assume.
Not every yapper ad we've ever written, but like all the best ones. And it's got like a lot of different context, right? Like you can build it like, I ended up doing quite a few consulting calls, and a lot of them are around yapper ads. So I got all the Firefly notes and then baked that into like a new skill. You know, took the breakdowns from all the winning ads, like broke down like, copywriting fundamentals. Basically like the way that we write yappers, like it's going to change, is like baked into that skill. But yeah, only take the winners. And then, if there's any Fireflies, like any team meetings about it, you just like get Claude to like scan that and see if it can like add anything in. I think recently we were comparing output, and from the original one that I've written, only now have we beaten the output with like the new skill. And I do think that came from like all the Firefly notes and stuff like that. So I think if people aren't putting those into their skills, they're missing out for sure.
I mean, so you go through and you have that skill, and then you have, what are the other skills that you have?
Like VSL, native long form, like, those ones where it's like the image and then that like really long ass primary copy. That basically for any format you can think of, we have that as a skill. We have like, ad analyzer skills, anything you want to do with ads. You just basically want a skill and give it as much context as possible. So you don't have to keep like, prompting or reprompting stuff. It just knows how to do it the way you want it to.
Right. So you have these built in, and you're going through, and then within the process of ideation of creating better ads. Well, I mean, we don't have to get into that. Actually, let me put a pin in that for a second. Why do you think the ads that you're manually writing are better than what it comes out with? Is it because of the human experience? Is it because of, AI's it has those guardrails, so it doesn't know how to think outside of that? Like, what is it about it? Because I think, we look across all creative right now and performance creative, and those ads that are working, why are they working? What is part of it that's that does it? And I think you've had a higher hit rate than there's a lot of people out there that have high hit rates. I guess I'd be curious of, your angle has been, we're going to manually do this and do, work on copy and make sure the angle and that, like, there's a long form narrative almost to it. What else are other people doing, do you think, and also how are you thinking about it in terms of AI and what it does?
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many different ways I guess I could answer that. But I guess like the reason we're very bullish on manual research, and we also do a manual research bounty as well. So like every month we run one, like from manual research, like you post it into the channel, the thing you found out. And if that like brings around like the biggest unlock for that account, you also get like an extra bonus at the end of the month. I think the reason is like, obviously, as we touched upon, like some of the ideas, it just can't come up with, like, I don't know, like maybe if they're like pretty like crazy or out there ideas, like maybe like gray hat ideas, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's not going to want to do that too much. I also feel like, I've played around with it so much and tried to like extract stories from Reddit with AI. And it just, I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe I'm just doing it wrong. I could be doing it wrong, but like, it doesn't really pick up on any good stories, and it just skims everything rather than actually getting like any kind of good thing. And like, obviously based on the keywords, it might, I don't know, I just feel like it just doesn't give me what I'm actually looking for. It just kind of gives me like, oh, this kind of thing could happen. And then also like, you just have to trust AI at like face value. And like, I don't know, maybe other people are seeing it. I'm certainly seeing them like talk about it. Like Claude's output seems to be unanimously getting worse. So it's like, well, it's going to do the same for research. And if it's just like, I feel like, I don't know, maybe again, I'm using it wrong, but the amount of times I'm like, no, take your time, make sure you found this, add in these guardrails. Like by that time, I might as well have just gone on to like some subreddit, found the story myself. And then I'm just like off to the races. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you can get deep research, like deep knowledge on something just from like research alone, especially if you're not if you're cracked at ads, like I'm sure you could. But the amount of time you're spending going through back and forth with AI anyway, you might as well just fucking gone on Reddit, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but like,
Yeah,
it's
it's almost
just
like you have to prompt it and give it so many instructions on what you're trying to
that
do that it takes a long time. And I also think there's a piece of the way that you connect dots as a human being of like what actually is interesting in terms of an angle that maybe that you can mine. I mean, I think you're using it, if you use it to mine reviews and to mine certain things that like data that you have on post purchase surveys or whatever, then that's one thing, because that's not something you want to do manually. But in
yeah,
terms of
exactly.
going
Yeah.
and doing it on Reddit, like it's yourself, I think that a lot of times it's harder for Claude to do that anyway. Like, and it's easier if you go in and look around and say, oh, it's kind of interesting and whatever. How do you, I mean, okay, so right now, looking across others that are really, I know you're looking at other high performing ads a lot. What do you think are components that AI has played into those to make them successful? Not necessarily from you, but from others. Like, what are they doing? Is it like that their AI has helped them to create rapid iterations of animated ads, or what is it that they're allowed to do? I don't know, just curious.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to like what you can do visually. Like, there's a lot of constraints where, like, if you do want to come up with these wild stories, it's kind of hard to do sometimes with a real person. You know what I mean? So, like, something I've been seeing, like, Crush is just like, Pixar stuff, but even like Pixar music, song stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really do that with a person. Then like other things where like some people are using like AI B-roll to show situations that, again, with a person, like I saw one where I think it was about a story about how someone went abroad and it like led to this like discovery of something. Well, getting a UGC creator to do that in any short amount of time is just going to take you, I mean, it might be fucking nigh impossible to get someone to do that, then to go like get the B-roll in this other country. But like with AI, you can have that tomorrow. You know what I mean? So again, I've
Mm-hmm.
seen that work really well. I've also seen AI UGC work really well. Um, but the one thing I will say with it that maybe again others haven't seen that I have is that, like, it fatigues quickly. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like you have
Like
to
it's even
constantly, yeah,
with
go
the
on.
disclosure and everything. Like because now in the US, like a lot of ads have a disclosure, basically, default. So you've seen those work even with the disclosure on there, but they die faster.
I mean, to be fair, like I'd have to look at like the disclosure again. Like we don't really do many of them, so like we're never in a situation we have to like disclose. But I'd have to check. But like even before that, like they were like working good, but like it just would die out quick. Like there was that trend where someone was like speaking on stage. You know what I mean? And as like a
Mm-hmm.
presenter, like that worked good. But I think just like whereas like if we write a yapper and it like bangs, like that can last for months and months and months, like at the top of the ad account. And like we're seeing that now, rather than being like, okay, it's crushing, then we have to like whip something up. Like there's like an account we're in right now where it's like they have like a UGC that's crushing. We've done some other stuff while we're getting the yappers. It might take over for like a couple of days, but then that real UGC just comes back to the top again. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm sure when we get like more of the real UGC, like we can dethrone it like, properly. But again, it's just something I see as like it can work, but it just doesn't have the legs. So I'm just like, well, why not just do that and do the hard thing and just like
Mm-hmm.
real people, real research. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I agree. It's interesting. Like, how do you think it's gonna? How do you think it's going to evolve in terms of looking across a successful ad account? Like, is it going to be, um, you know, for example, would it be that you'll look in a successful ad account that's spending 200 grand a month, and they have, the yappers, they have uh, ads that are, you know, you like generated animated stuff from AI. They have a bunch of AI generated statics. Like, what is it going to look like? I mean, because I know it's sort of some of places look like that now, but I'm curious what your take is.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I'm a fan of diversity, and I think AI has made that like so much. Like, I think that's genuinely like a huge net benefit of AI is like now the new amount of like diversity you can bring to accounts. Like, we did this ad that like popped off for this like pet brand, and we had like the dog talking it in like a claymation and stuff like that. Like that just wasn't possible, like, for the average advertiser like 3 years ago. So the fact that you can just like, pretty much do that and have that generated like in a couple of days now is insane. But yeah, I mean, like to 200K, I think you can just pop off with like one format. But I definitely see the ones that are like, when they hit like, big spend, is it's definitely like very diverse content, like founder content, like yapper content, maybe like more performance UGC, statics, like AI. Like, you're definitely seeing a lot more of those come in at those like higher spenders, and like all of them, like, I guess the ideal thing is like they all spend like a decent amount and you can just, keep increasing spend with it, rather than just like them fighting for spend and just the spend level staying the same.
Yeah. So basically, there's it's right. It's going to continue to be used for diversity in what you're saying, which is good. So one thing I've been curious about with you is, let's say, we're looking across Andromeda and Lattice and others, right? And we know that Meta wants diversity, and that's what we've been aiming and building for. Do you think that as we're looking forward, if I run a creative shop, what's your advice to me in reference to like, how do I approach building a bunch of different ads for clients? Is it like, hey, let's make sure that we're doom scrolling a lot, that we're going on TikTok a lot to unlock new styles, and immediately, then we're rapidly iterating those for clients? Like, how do I sort of set up my organization to continue to make great ads utilizing AI, but also not utilizing AI?
Yeah, cool. I guess I'll give an answer for both. I mean, also, someone's like, I've been explained like lattice like 3 different times. I'm still not even really sure what it means. I'm not even really sure what Andromeda means apart from diversity. I don't know. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Here. It's like, but yeah, I mean, in terms of, and this is where we come back to AI, right? Like, we talk about like the review mining. 100% just do that with AI. That means you can doom scroll what your prospects feed looks like even more. You know what I mean? Like you can type in the niches and watch it even more. Like instead of just going through every fucking review one by one and being like, oh, that's another person that said very good. Okay, that's like pointless. Like I think what it looks like in the future is just like really working out where is great to use it. And that's still something that we're trying to work out as well. And that also might change in 6 months because maybe AI will be able to pull stories like absolutely perfectly and then take that and just crank like an amazing yapper and it's like, okay, great. But like, I think going forward, it's like, and what it is now is it's like, people like using a blend and working out, okay, if I can review, like, where can I save time and where should I be putting more manual time? And that's the thing is like, obviously we've had like a pretty successful like first 10 months of being open. And like, I can't tell you how many brand owners that I talk to that like have a pretty like poor view of agencies purely from the fact they just say like, all they give is like AI slop. Like they can tell the like scripts are written by AI slop. So it's again, like, learning how to make sure like, you're going to have to put in time manually to learn how to be a great copywriter and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like that's all stuff. Yo, what's going on, man?
What's up? Sorry, I'm late.
No problem. By the way, Will, we're live on X right now. So,
what's up, people?
Yeah, so feel free to go on RT me to get more viewers. Yeah, I mean, I think with one thing that's interesting, Harry, that you just said is, I think that there has been a lot of folks that they see volume as the game, and it's not about volume, right? It's about the quality of of what you're creating. And AI allows you to create a ton of volume, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to net you better results in any case. And I also think it's really challenging because, as has always been our industry, there's a lot of people that are in our industry that give advice, and that could be on, well, bidding or audiences. I mean, this is a tale as old as time, like Beauty and the Beast. But like the thing that I see with that basically they're huge accounts, and they are spending tens of millions of dollars, and they tell everybody what to do. And then these brands that are spending $50 to $100,000 a month, which is a large majority of e-commerce brands, to be honest, like they are trying to implement a system where they're creating 400 net new concepts a week or something. And you're just like, that's not going to be it, right? And so it like lowers the bar enough. And I think that's not good for anyone, really. That's not good for the, any of it.
That was like stuff that I used to hate, is that you wake up to like some fucking X screenshot from like some of your favorite gurus, but oh man, the accounts they're talking about are way bigger than yours, you're in completely different situations. But luckily that doesn't happen to me anymore. But yeah, that like back in the day, that was a painful one, because they would want the same thing. It's like, I don't think you even cracked like what your core messaging is yet, or what actually makes you different from other people. And
right.
Also,
and
I don't think you
expanding it. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's also like, I don't think the CPA that they can afford to have compared to you. So it's a whole different conversation. But yeah, I mean, it's weird. I actually, talking about the volume thing. Okay, yeah, obviously AI is great for volume and execution. But I actually saw a post about from a guy called Jacob, friend of mine. He's pretty active on Twitter, and he's always been pretty anti volume for the sake of volume. And he made what I really liked was a great post about the fact that he's actually in the top 1% of advertisers with the amount of ads live. And he was like, that's not because I launched loads of volume. It's just because I make great ads and they just stay active for ever. They've all got a job to be done. So I'm like, people are like, oh, I need to launch X amount of ads, all these ones. But it's actually, you can just make bangers that just have jobs to be done and just stay active for ages. And you just compound that way instead, which is probably the way I would prefer to do it personally. But again, some people are going to be like, no, that's stupid. Just make infinite ads. But also a lot of those people who say make infinite ads never really seem to supply results that come with that. So I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to start drama, but it's you always say make infinite ads, but I'm like, post some fucking spend on those ads, buddy. Come on.
So first of all, for those of you that are tuning in, this is a live stream episode. This will be recorded as well, of AI-DTC-WTF, which is a new podcast that Will and I and our friend in Norway, Thomas Moen, have started. And Harry Delmege is on here talking about a whole bunch of stuff. So Harry, thanks for being here. So let me ask about, I'm going to ask one more question, and then Will, you can kind of hop in. So one of the things that I think has been, I was talking last night with Hannah Haug and Matthew Gattozzi about creative strategists in this whole ecosystem, and how I think that there's this really hard push and pull between brands and agency operatives or operators and owners that want creative strategists to be putting out more, and volume is the name of the game. And the creative strategist that actually is like, I need to make sure that this is good and that we're getting back to basics of creating great ads. How do you see this right now? And how do you think that we as organizations can be better in terms of helping our strategists write better briefs and deliver ultimately better ads? One of the biggest questions that comes up inside the Foxwell Founders community is around hiring. How do you know and how do you find great people that you can actually trust to do the job? That's why I want to talk to you about Propel. Propel has placed more than 75 employees for members of Foxwell Founders. Some of the hardest roles our members have been trying to fill for months, they filled quickly and efficiently. We're talking from video editors to graphic designers, media buyers, and more in Latin America, to managers, directors, and heads of department and VPs in the US. They have done it all. They can help you build a team that scales faster. I know that this is an ad read, and I know that it's totally one of those things you're like, well, it's whatever, it's an ad. Honestly, though, I literally use this and have used Propel and the team over at Propel for all of these things. They filled offshore, they fill domestic, like I just said. It's absolutely incredible. And honestly, the founder, Leandro, used to run an ecom brand and performance marketing agency. So he gets it. That's one of the things I've always loved about Leandro and what I love about dealing with him. I have never even heard a negative review about working with them. One time somebody said it wasn't working out and Leandro immediately replaced the candidate that he had put in the position for a person. That's like the only feedback I've ever heard. The way that they work is simple. It's performance-based. You only pay a one-off fee once you actually hire someone. There's no retainers, no ongoing costs, and every hire is backed by a 3-month guarantee. So go to the show notes, check it out. Let me know what you think. And if you have questions about this, feel free to hit me up, andrew@foxwelldigital.com. I'm happy to talk about it. If you go to the link in the show notes, you get 10% off your first hire with them. It's a great deal, really special for podcast listeners. So I look forward to hopefully helping your brand grow and scale.
Was that a question for me or for Will?
Yeah, for you.
Damn, I thought you were talking to Will that whole time. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought you said Will at the start, so I was like, okay, he's asking that. But okay, no.
Will can answer that, and then you can chime in if you'd like.
I mean, I'm with you. I know how to answer, but sorry, I was just like waiting for Will to talk because I was like, I don't want to just talk over. But no, I can answer. Yeah, I mean, like, I think it comes back to the thing that so much has rapidly changed over 3 years. Like I was saying before, like 3 years ago, I would have had like no way of knowing that I'd be able to create all this like wild Pixar or claymation looking stuff that like genuinely does well. Like that just wasn't something that I thought when I was like, 3-4 years ago when I was like new to creative strategy, that I was like, okay, this is a possible thing to do. So I think it's like a natural pendulum swing, right? It's like it's like, oh my God, this is so cool. I can just like get every single one of my ideas down and I can just like get everything out. And now it's coming back to that thing where it's like, oh shit, I need to actually make sure this is grounded in like proper direct response, proper marketing. I need to QA this all properly because like, depending on the day, it will either give me something that's like actually pretty good or just it doesn't even make sense. So I think it's just a natural like pendulum swing back where like people thought they could just like one shot or was hoping they could one shot a lot of stuff with AI and it'd be a banger. Like that would be the best situation if I just have like a random idea and I'm like, okay, go write a yapper ad about that and it spends like 7 figures. That would be the best thing ever. Like I'm not saying I don't want that. I'm just saying it's like realistically it's not there. So I think people are like now coming back to being like, okay, no, we actually need to go back to fundamentals because like anything, right? It's like whatever sport you do, if you stop doing the fundamentals and the basics, like you will lose that skill. You will forget how to QA a script. You'll forget how, if an ad is even good or not. Like you just won't know. You will look at it and be like, yeah, that's fine. But that's just because you've been like using AI for every day for the last 6 months and you just have no idea if that's got better or worse because it's just your new standard. So I think it's just naturally coming back to that. And I also think like brand owners, especially, I mean, again, I'm not speaking for all people here, just like, they're coming to me and like the agency for quality. Like that's what they want. Some people like are like, oh yeah, like we want some more volume, but like they only want more volume once the quality is proven. You know what I mean? That's when they're like, hey guys, can you give us more? Like, it's not like, I feel like if I told people what their like monthly like deliverables were like a year ago, people were like, that's nowhere near enough. How do you expect us to scale off that? And I just don't think people got the results they wanted. So we're like, oh shit, okay, maybe we got to go back to basics here. So that's my view on it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, we have been actively hiring creative strategists. And I think one of the most eye-opening experiences for me is that like a lot of creative strategists will just continually write copy with Claude. And like in the application process, you'll be getting a lot of responses with Claude. And if you ask to brief out a handful of statics and videos, you'll get Claude responses. And, I'm obviously the first to admit that like we are like sort of like an AI enabled agency. But the reason we are AI enabled is so we can free up strategists to actually do the hard work, right? Like we want to be able to produce like 80% of your ads, bottom of funnel statics with AI. We still have editors on all of our statics. But then that other 20% needs to be like entirely human driven. Like copywriting is undoubtedly the most important part of creative strategy, in my opinion. And you can't just like skip that step. And I think we're just like still in the stage of like AI psychosis, where it's just like, it's a really fun tool to play with. And I'm the first to sort of fall into that grouping, but like where you ultimately end up winning is sort of utilizing AI to uncover like angles, personas, emotions, formats you should be testing, and then like giving the reins to like a really good copywriter who can actually deliver. And so, yeah, it's definitely a combination of the two, and like finding good strategists that actually have copywriting jobs that are actually willing to sort of do the hard work is becoming much more challenging. It's just, I think people just assume that they can just skip steps by using language learning model. So yeah, I completely agree with Harry there. I guess my question to that is like, when you're looking for a strategist now, Harry, like what is like, if you had to sort of distill the job down into like one most important quality of a person, like what do you think that is?
One, that's tough. One important, man. Okay, I guess just willing to do the hard work. Like that's just it. Like, because at first I was like looking for people who were, okay, how skilled are they? Where have they come from? Like, I want someone that's got like quite a bit of experience, but like I'm also finding that to be sometimes, again, not always, like a bit of a negative now, because I've now got to like make them unlearn all the bad habits they've picked up. Whereas like actually, onboarded some like really like hungry people who were like not green by any means, like at all, but like not these people who have come from these big places or like, had this like, years of experience, and they're like fucking crushing. But just because they're hungry to learn, they actually want to learn the craft. They don't think they know the craft. You know what I mean? Whereas a lot of people were like, oh yeah, well, I've done this for X amount of years now. I can just keep cranking it out. I know everything I already need to know. And they've given up learning still. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to go read like breakthrough advertising for the 6th time. Do you know what I mean? They're just not going to do that because in their head, they've like completed it. So I think just like willing to do that hard work and go that extra 10% is like, are you willing to like QA your scripts that bit more, or are you just going to one shot it with AI and be like, yeah, that's good enough? So yeah, probably that's the one thing I'm looking for, but it always changes. Like first I was like thinking this is the case, but then in 3 months I might find a new type of person I'm trying to hire. But like, yeah, hungry people willing to do the work and like generally still curious and like wanting excellence. Whereas like I feel like that's died a bit. Not saying it's because of the use of AI, but like it seems like a lot of people have just become happy with good enough. Like even like, as for example, when I always do trial and I always make someone write a yapper ad for a trial, like even if it's something they're not very comfortable with, because it takes time, it's longer. Like, and we had someone send one over the other day, like instantly just replied and I was like, write that again. Like, and just made them do it again, make them go longer. Cause it's like, no, I don't want it just like all with AI, like just go back and do it again.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think it's true. It's like that desire of somebody who wants to and knows that it's going to take time, right? And also knows that there's always this constant desire to continue learning and to continue refining, right? Like if you asked, I don't know, Michael Jordan at the height of his career, what's the number one thing you would say to somebody, to continue to learn? I mean, I think or continue to grow. Like it had to be something like, you have to keep training, you have to keep developing developing it, which I think is the same, because I think it's just very easy to fall into the AI trap of it's doing it for you and you think that you're improving, but in reality you're really not. So I think that is like a trap that a lot of folks are caught in, and they're out there seeing like, oh, I hooked up all these things and I have all this data and all these MCPs, and I'm pumping out more ads than I ever have, but it's like it just loses that human element, and it loses the hard work that it takes to actually copyright really properly. And I think that creative strategists know this, I guess is what I'm getting at. And I think a lot of leaders don't know this as well, right? So I think this is a call to leaders to be like, hey, this is different, right? Like we need to not just be pushing on the volume button or just generally saying personas, right? But like, what does that even mean? And what are you trying to do? I guess a question I have for you, Harry, is, let's say that we look a year down the road too. I'm always in the interest of equipping people properly. We go a year down the road. What are folks doing that has improved their ads with AI? Like, is it just that people are utilizing AI in a year more efficiently, or that they've integrated into their systems better, or what is it that that they've done with AI that's made their lives easier and better?
I think, yeah, there's like a case for efficiency. Like, again, go back to the review mining. But I think the people that use it the best are the people that can like really use it to bring their imagination to life. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the case now. And I think it will be the case like even more so as like, it gets easier and easier to like create these wild things. But like some of the AI stuff that I see working, like, people would do like fake, like security camera stuff, like, as like a hook or like, again, we talk about like that, like the Pixar, like musical stuff, like anything like that where you can use it. Because before it was such a constraint and like now it's not. And I think it's only going to get easier to bring your imagination to life. But I think to do that, you need to still keep that like creativity alive. And like, I think a lot of that comes from like manual stuff or like experiencing things and trying to like then turn that into adverts. But like, yeah, obviously things will get more efficient, reporting, like all that stuff, like the grunt stuff is gonna basically make it easier. And then like the things that you'll probably do is be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go out for like 2 walks today, and on those 2 walks I'm gonna try like ideate 2 fucking crazy ads or something, and I'm gonna I'm gonna be ruminating over everything I've been thinking about, and then just wait for one to be like airdropped to me or something. Like so I think, yeah, it's just gonna become like, the people that are crushing it, the people that are still like, keeping their like imagination and creativity cranking, and then they can just like use AI to come up with this like mad shit that looks awesome. Just, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, yeah.
100%. And like sort of piggybacking out off that, I think a lot of people are just like using AI wrong, right? Like AI has opened up this, like so many avenues for new mediums of content, right? Like as you were discussing earlier, like you can do a full sort of end-to-end top of funnel animated, claymation, Minecraft, whatever sort of medium you want it to be. But like fundamentally, you really need a strong script there. Like advertising hasn't changed. At the end of the day, we're all just telling a story, right? And now we just like have additional mediums to do it. So like, I think where people what gets so wrong with AI in general, it's like, oh, this format is crushing right now. It's not the format that's crushing. It's the story that you're telling behind the format. And like, again, that's why people have this like sort of AI psychosis where they're just like building fucking dashboards and just like, spinning their wheels and like, oh, yo, look at my fucking sick dashboard. And it's just like, it's so infuriating because that's like not accretive. That's not ROI positive. Like what's ROI positive is like using these tools to like underpin like, where are my holes in my in the ads I'm running now? Like who haven't I been talking to? And then like using Harry's method where it's just like I'm actually writing end-to-end scripts. I can use a creator to do a yapper ad, or like if I want to even test it, like I can spin up like an animated ad, top of funnel ad in an hour, right? It's just like it's so people are just like are so of the mindset that like everything that they're creating with Claude Code is God's gift to the earth. And like, again, this is sort of this psychosis mindset. Yeah. And it's just like, you have to sort of go down to fundamentals. Like a good script is a good script. And like 9 times out of 10, it's written by a human being. But like, then you can take that script, like do a Minecraft one. And if that works well, like then get a creator to go do it. It's just like, it gives you the ability to sort of catalyze testing in a way we've never been able to do so before, in my opinion. And Harry, I'm curious, like before you like go and create a yapper ad, like are you testing that concept with like an animated sort of top of funnel? No, okay. So you're going straight from script to creator.
Yeah, I think so. Just because like, honestly, like a lot of people can kind of do that like animation stuff pretty well, I feel like. Because I think like a lot of the visuals can do the carrying there. You know what I mean? Like, because they look so like you can tell so much of that story with like, it's a bit of like a cheat code for that kind of stuff. But like still a lot of accounts are in like, haven't quite cracked yappers, and like we're pretty confident with how we write it and how we QA it, so we can just send it straight to a creator and just be like, fuck it, let's run it. Because it's still like a thing that I think people struggle with. So it's just like, well, while people are still struggling, why not just go for that? But then if it does work well, we'll then maybe the other way, turn it into like AI stuff and just like, spin that concept and that story as many ways as possible. For sometimes, for example, though, like on certain accounts, we would do like, the long form native image copy stuff. If that pops off, we'll take like the core story of that and then I'll apply that to a yapper because it's just like a cheap and easy way to test that story before you then go to that. Just like forewarning for anyone that does that, don't just like copy and paste the thing. Just because your yapper script will turn into like a 12-minute long thing and people can read way quicker than they can consume information. And getting a real person with like not any B-roll or anything like that being charismatic for 12 minutes straight is pretty difficult. I wouldn't I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. So yeah, like that's like a really good way to test it. But then it's more like once we have done that, I guess not that I ever think about it, but like do the hard thing first, then we can like do the easier stuff and just spin that up like different ways. And then there's just some stories that like, again, like I've spoken about, it's like, if you're in a pet niche, I would just spend more of my time doing like AI animation stuff because you can make dogs like talk and shit like that, which is like so awesome. Do you know what I mean? Like that's so cool. You can like,
Yeah.
I think we did one for a brand. It was like, it was like for like some joint shoes or whatever. And like, we show the claymation where like the mum gets like really upset when like the dog starts limping because it's like got old and the dog's like, I don't understand why mummy's sad and all this stuff. Like, I'm just trying to be like a good dog. So it's like, you just couldn't do that with like, like loads of people are commenting like this made me tear up like this, like, and it got like a pretty healthy amount of spend. But it's like, you just can't do that with like, like yapper ad. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like that kind of stuff. We just don't necessarily bother with the yapper ads and we just go straight to AI animation.
Yeah. But like fundamentally, you still have a human being writing that script, right? Like that is like the research needs to still come into play. Like it's not the animation that's carrying it. It's a good script, presumably.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think like more what we do is like we're really like heavy on human QA because like I was saying like earlier, like one of the great things with AI is like especially with skills is it like really lowers that barrier to like execution where you can actually get like, and with skills you can get a pretty decent first draft. But I think that's the problem is people look at that and like, oh, that's pretty decent, and then just like leave it there. But it's actually like the ads that like even when we've QA'd, and I spoke to my friend like Luke the other day. He's like head of performance like another agency, and he said like the ads that he sees pop off are the ones that where you add the tiny details to it, you make the small changes because like the nuances really matter. So it's like for execution, like, and I fully agree with that. I see the same things. Like even if it's not big changes, you're just asking like, so what? Can we add a little bit more detail here? Can we make that more emotive? And like you need in my opinion, you need the human QA for that. But yeah, I think most people get to that point where it's like, okay, cool, that's like a 6 out of 10. We'll just ship it. But if you can get to that 6 out of 10 and then make it like 9 out of 10, like great. That's like kind of like the way you wanted to do it. Because yeah, starting from zero and being like, fuck now, I got to write like a 4-minute script. Like while you've got all this other stuff going on, it's like, it's not a fun feeling. So it's like, if you can get that first draft, great, then cool. But that's why you need to still be studying, still be breaking down winning ads manually. Like, like I got like a bloody like this here. Like I got the prompts that I do to run like winning ads, but I also watch winning ads manually and like write down notes myself. So you can still just know what makes a good ad. Like I go on Kalo data and I write down what the affiliates are doing when they're like overcoming objectives. Like I'm still doing that manually so that I can do it when I get my script back. And I've noticed when I don't do that, my QAing gets worse because you're just over reliant on AI and you're just starting to accept what it's giving you because you're like, fuck it, it's been fine. But a lot of the time it's not. And then as it keeps going, it's worse and worse. You know what I mean?
Totally. It's such a negative feedback loop. And like, I definitely agree. Like journaling every morning, like sort of keeps me humble and like, puts the earth underneath my feet. Like, so for your team, like, are there any things like you recommend for your team members or like anyone else in this space? Like, how do you sort of keep that grounding and not sort of lose yourself in the psychosis of it all?
Yeah, I mean, I just like ask for proof around stuff. I'm just like, where did you get that from? And if like sometimes they're like AI, I'm like, okay, go and verify it yourself. But like also what we do is we do like a manual research challenge every month where there's like bounties, and it's like if you get the biggest unlock from research, manual research, then you get a bounty. Like I think like prizes go up to like right now, like $500 on top of like the commission they already get anyway. So it's like, it's all right. It's not like it probably could be better. And then also what I'm going to implement alongside that is if you write a manual ad that pops off alongside the commission, you'll also get like a bounty to do with that as well. So like really just trying to get them to get into the habit of like keeping the tools tool sharp. And, you know, I'd love for people to do it just because they think I'm like awesome and it's the best company to work at ever. But like, you know, like money talks, you know what I mean? So like just giving people like financial incentives, especially when it's like something that's like becoming harder to do, because we had mental friction to do it before, but we had to do it. You know what I mean? There was like, well, I have to just write this manually. Like, yeah, it kind of is like annoying that I have to do it, but like, I'm just going to fucking sit down and get it done. Like, that doesn't exist anymore. You can just get AI to do it. So it's even more mental thing to be like, oh, fuck's sake, I really have to write this manually. So it's like, okay, cool. I got to give you money for that effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think that raises a good point, which is one I've said a lot, in coaching calls, other things, which is with employees, making sure that you are incentivizing them for the behavior that you want. It's just like anything else. But I mean, like, seriously, it matters when you go through and say, this is the type of behavior we're trying to reward. That's not done enough. People do that they think it's under job expectation, which in some cases it is. But if you are doing competition or you're gamifying it or you're, doing some sort of bonus, they'd say, hey, look, like the more I see this, the better I am happy to incentivize you. And here's what it means. Like you will get X number of dollars. Like that will drive better results. So I think that's kind of an interesting one. As you go forth, one question I have, Harry, is on those people that are utilizing, AI in a way that makes sense in their organization. Do you think that is there some creative director or the brand owner has a good idea of what they are okay with the brand in reference to AI? Like is there like an AI captain in the organization? Or are they just saying, you know what, Harry, we trust you. You're the expert. Go for it. Like I just am wondering where people have been held back, right?
Are you talking about like in terms of my company, or in terms of like when I work with brands, like what they're saying about the use of AI?
Yeah, I'm wondering specifically about the people that are, how do I say this? I'm wondering specifically about those organizations that are really good at AI and they're like really good at making your job easy in terms of getting out better ads. Do they have some sort of filter that says, yes, that can happen with that? That's fine. That's on brand for us. Go for it. And they trust you, or it's like they have a process of, okay, this goes to this person, they approve it, it's good. And there's almost like an AI captain internally. I'm just curious of your take.
Well, yes, okay. If I've got it confused, let me know. But in terms of like, when people, I was like, listen to that again. I was like, this could be a number of things. But it's been a long day, a lot of calls. You got to bear with me. It's a little bit late for me over here. Yeah. So in terms of like when I'm like if you're talking about when I'm sending over ads to clients and like how they're talking about like are things on brand and like with the use of AI, I'll be very honest. Like we mostly work with people that are pretty chill with a lot of stuff. We work with like a lot of like supplement brands and like that kind of thing. So I would say like, and a lot of people I think that come to me know that like we're very rooted in like direct response and like we like to push it a little bit. But yeah, we've definitely had it before where people are like, that's not on brand. And like, to be honest, if it's like stupid stuff that I don't agree with, then like it's just not like, I don't want to say stupid, but like just stuff that isn't aligned with me, then like the relationship's just not going to last very, very long. Like we do best with people that are kind of just like, yeah, like fuck it, you guys can kind of come in and like run whatever you want, essentially, like whatever you think is best.
Cool.
Because at the end of the day, like
they have a freedom to it. They're just saying that's fine. I'm just wondering because I feel like there's a big thing that happens with AI of people are either like, there's a lot of places it has to get routed and that hurts them from creating better ads. And there's other places that are like the extreme of your side, which is like, go for it, whatever, we don't care.
yeah.
Right. And so I'm trying to figure out like there probably needs to be a middle ground of this, of like getting things out because there's going to be more governance around this. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, I guess because I mean, like with some brands, like again, with like some with fashion, like makes sense. Like, you don't like, you know, you're not going to be doing necessarily like Pixar. I mean, it might work. I don't know. But like sometimes you see a bit more branded stuff with like that. But I guess it kind of makes sense because fashion, it makes sense. You know what I mean? But like in terms of other stuff, like I've been speaking to people like maybe at like bigger brands and they just can't even get like AI animation stuff approved by brand. And I'm just like, that's just the fucking death of advertising. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, it's crazy.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
you know, like, and I get on the other side. Yeah, and I get on the other side where people are like doing like fake doctors and stuff. Like, you know, it's a bit like whatever. Like, you know, people have like, you know, views on that. So it's like, you're right. There definitely probably like is a middle ground, but like, I'm always on the thing of like lean on the like side of like a bit more aggressive. You know what I mean? I think, you know, you look at the brands like crushing now and a lot of them that are up and coming, again, can't talk for all of them because I don't see inside their ad account, but like they are doing these like, you know, being more loose with it, like, because it's all like trend based as well. Like, you know, there's only so long that these ads will like kind of work, like claymation and stuff like that is like still work, but in some cases it's falling off a bit. So they're just like missing trends because they've got some people in brand who don't even know what direct response is, being like, oh, we can't run that. Like, well, it's stupid. It's honestly, it's the death of advertising.
It's so, well, and that's so funny. I mean, I have this, we should name this, like, they come up with a law for the name, the something law of like, the bigger the organization, the worse they are to work with usually, and the more they shoot themselves in the foot. Like,
I'm not gonna
because
say
there's
nothing.
other because there's so many layers. You know, you're like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, Harry, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining the live stream, everyone. If you came on a live stream, and we'll look forward to doing this again. But Harry, thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, no, all good. I have no idea if I said anything helpful at all.
Zero. You didn't say anything good. It sucked.
I didn't think
terrible.
I did. Yeah. No, I just complained about volume and big brands.
That's right.
That was it.
That's it.
Yeah. people got their time's worth with that one. Let's go.